Mason Greenwood exit expected to be confirmed today. Manuel Ugarte reportedly picks Manchester United, telling PSG that he wants to leave the club this summer. David Ornstein coming out in the last couple of minutes saying that Manchester United will only sign one of Lenny Yoro and De Ligt. And apparently Lenny Yoro is the priority, not De Ligt. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 1,000 likes on today's show. If this is your first time watching, please also subscribe to the channel. I'm live every single day at 8:30, 1:30 and 6 p.m. UK time. Currently, only 50% of people who watch our videos are subscribed. So if you're not currently subscribed, make sure you get involved. It's the best way to keep up to date with all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Right, welcome everybody in the chat. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Let's get straight on with the show. Okay, I want to jump straight into this story about Mason Greenwood. And the question I've got for you today is, I always like to start the shows off with a question. Some people like it, some people don't. I think it's a good way of engaging with the community and allowing Man United fans to have their opinions out there. So what I want to ask you today is, are you happy with the reported fee for Mason Greenwood, which is £26.7 million plus significant sell-on clause, 50% sell-on clause apparently. Let me know in the comment section. Are you happy with it? I'll do a poll as well for the people watching live, but anybody who's watching back on repeat, get in the comments and let me know. So the question is this: are you happy with 26.7 million for Mason Greenwood? What's going on there? It's a yes or no question. If you're not happy, let me know how much you think he's worth. Okay, cool. So yeah, talking about Mason Greenwood, the story broke last night from Damasio, who is reporting that Marseille are expecting Mason Greenwood's definitive yes to join them by today. So this was late last night, referring to obviously today as in Tuesday. We all know, as I said, Marseille had offered £26.7 million, which is about 30 million euros. There is also a 50% sell-on clause. So if he goes to Marseille and does well, and in a couple of years he moves to another club, we would get half of that money. There is apparently also significant add-ons and performance-related bonuses. I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's a fair price. There was a couple of murmurs that Lazio were coming in with a bid of 20 million euros, which I thought was a joke. 26.7, 100% profit, because obviously he's come through the youth academy. We've never paid a transfer fee for him. That will allow us to spend a significant amount of money this summer, because think about it like this, right? We get 26.7 million in, which is profit. Okay, so that'll be straight profit on our books. We're paying, I think, 12 million for Joshua Zirkzee this season. We're splitting the payment across 3 years. So that £26.7 million, half of that can go towards Zirkzee, half of that can go towards instalments of another player. So I think it's a good bit of business. I know it's not life-changing amounts of money for a football club, but I think it's a reasonable price. I'm not jumping for joy about it, but I'm not devastated about it. You know, I really, really thought that Mason Greenwood would end up out on loan again this season. That was my honest opinion. I thought we'd struggle to sell him just because of, the club's looking at the situation at Manchester United and knowing that we needed to do something with him because for whatever reason we didn't want to bring him back, right? And I thought that they'd just look at us and think, you know what, we don't want to buy him, we'll loan him, and it's win-win for them, isn't it? But yeah, obviously Roberto De Zerbi, the new Marseille manager, is apparently desperate to bring in Mason Greenwood. He was his number one target, and he's going to get his player. From what I've heard and what I've read, Mason Greenwood to Marseille will be confirmed today. Obviously, there was that issue with the mayor of Marseille coming out saying some crazy stuff. I assume that's probably been patched over. You know, some people were saying, oh, well, the mayor has to say that just because, you know, he's a political voice and all the rest of it. And he's kind of saying things that he doesn't actually mean just because he wants to, like, tick boxes and stuff. I don't know. I don't know how true that is. But, yeah, Mason Greenwood to Marseille looks like it will be concluded today. I'm just having a look. So Marseille aren't in any European competition, are they? They finished 8th last season. So they're not in the Conference League. They're not in the Europa League. Mason Greenwood seems very determined to go there. It seems like a strange transfer to me, but... you know, especially when apparently Juventus and Napoli were knocking on the door. It does seem a little bit strange. £26.8 million, though, I can't really complain. And as I said, let me know in the comment section of this video, are you happy with the fee that has been reported? £26.7 million plus 50% sell-on clause. Now, if Mason Greenwood goes, does that mean that we need to look for a new right winger? That's the question. Obviously, Jadon Sancho's back now, back in training, back for first team selection. So maybe we don't. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we've been linked to quite a few different players, haven't we, in the wing position? We've been linked to the guy from Girona, the Ukrainian guy. I can't remember his name. We've been linked to that Desiree Doué, who's apparently very, very good, and a couple of others as well. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. Apparently, we should get the confirmation today. That's what's been reported by Damasio, that Marseille will complete the deal for Mason Greenwood. Obviously, they've already agreed a fee. All they were trying to iron out was the personal terms. And obviously that whole situation with the mayor, I think, slowed things down a little bit. We've got over 600 people watching the show live, which is absolutely amazing. If everyone could do me a small favour and smash a like on today's video, I'd really, really appreciate it. I've set a likes target of 1,000 for today's video. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. We're only 2 subscribers now away from 29,600. And I am giving out 2 Manchester United shirts when we hit 30k. So make sure you go and get involved. Currently only 2 away from 29,600. So go and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, let's move on to Manuel Ugarte then, because I know there's a lot of people who are desperate for this deal to go through. There's a lot of people who are, asking me every single day, Manuel Ugarte, what's going on? Are we going to sign him? The short answer is Manchester United have apparently been in advanced talks over the weekend and yesterday with PSG to get this deal concluded. Apparently Ugarte has told PSG that he wants to come to Manchester United. He's not interested in going to any other clubs, which I think is obviously a very, very good step. He has apparently already agreed personal terms. He's apparently spoke to Erik ten Hag. He understands what his role would be within the team. So this looks like a deal that will happen. Obviously, the issue we have is that there isn't a release clause and PSG want a lot of money for him. They want 60 million euros. Man United apparently want to pay about 40 million euros, which is, I think, a little bit cheeky, but you have to try it, don't you? PSG effectively want to get back the money they paid for him last summer. They paid £50 million or 60 million euros to Sporting Lisbon. They've said to Manchester United, we're happy to sell him. We know that he wants to come to Manchester United, but we want the 60 million euros. And Man United effectively aren't willing to pay it. And because of that, it's a game of who blinks first, It could just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because if Manchester United aren't willing to match their price, PSG don't have to sell, and they could wait until later on in the window. Other clubs might come into the mix. What happens if say like a Liverpool get a really bad injury and they're desperate for they're desperate for a new CDM? They might come and pay the 60 million. So I think at the moment PSG aren't desperate to sell. They want to sell him, but they want to sell him for the right price. And Manchester United want to buy, but they want to get him for cheap. So you've got kind of 2 different people with 2 different outlooks on it. Man United think there's an opportunity here to get themselves a bargain. They can see a player that PSG invested a lot of money in that isn't getting game time and wants to leave, right? I mean, I don't blame them for trying to get him for cheap, because you look at the situation at PSG, you've got an unhappy player who wants to go. Why would you pay 60 million euros for him? It's not like he's starting every single week and he's undroppable. He sits on the bench most of the time. Somebody in the chat saying, why don't we give them Sancho and 30 million? I don't think they want Sancho, to be honest, mate. There's all this hype about Jadon Sancho, but I don't think anybody actually really wants him that much. Obviously, Juventus supposedly wanted him on loan, but so back to Ugarte. I think it's one of those ones where there is obviously the genuine interest there. The player wants to come, but it just all depends on whether Manchester United can agree a fee. Because obviously with Xerxes, it was a completely different situation. Xerxes had a release clause, which we could trigger, and it gave us a rough indication of how much money the deal would cost. Whereas with Manuel Ugarte, it effectively is a negotiation, and negotiations take time. Manchester United can't go into it seeming desperate or seeming like they really want him. They'll want to make sure that PSG think that we have alternative options, and that PSG think that we're not just going to pay whatever they want. Because remember, for the last decade, Manchester United in the transfer window have been a laughingstock. So these clubs are going to look at us in that same way. Until we prove them otherwise, PSG are going to look at Manchester United and say, they're offering us 35 million, we want 50. let's wait 2 months. Let's wait till the last week of the window and they'll give us the 50 million. Because if you look back at previous windows, a prime example is Antony. We approached Ajax in the first week of the transfer window for Antony. They quoted us £30 million, right? We say, no, that's too much. We'll wait. We don't want him. And then about 2 days before the end of the window, we give them £85 million. Like, we have done this so many times before, and we've been so bad at negotiating. I think so far in this window, we've been good, and I think we're not rushing into things, hence walking away from Jared Branthwaite when they wanted 80 million, hence getting this deal over the line for Xerxes, where we've split the transfer fee over 3 years. I think that was really clever business. So I'm impressed so far, and I think that this Ugarte one, if we sign him, it will be for a good amount of money. If we don't sign him, I think it would just be because PSG have priced him too highly, and Man United either can't afford him or feel that maybe the price isn't a fair reflection of the player's market value and the situation and all the rest of it. So, and the thing we all have to remember is, right, we still have the option of signing Amrabat. He is available with 1 year left of his contract for £12 million. Whereas if PSG are asking for 50 million, which is apparently what they're asking for at the moment, that's over 4 times the amount that Amrabat's going to cost. And Amrabat's obviously already been at Manchester United. He's worked with Ten Hag before. Yes, he's not world class, but he's a good squad player. So Man United will have to look at their situation and say, we can get Amrabat for 12 or Ugarte for 50 million. Like, what would you do if that was up to you? If I said to you, right, we could sign Amrabat and we could sign a new left back, or we could sign Ugarte, what would you do? Because £50 million for Ugarte is probably the same amount of money it would cost to get Amrabat and that Kadioglu guy from Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce want 30 million for Kadioglu. Fiorentina want 12 million for Amrabat. So those two players combined would be 42 million. Whereas PSG is still asking for 50 million for Ugarte. So it's a pretty difficult situation for Ineos and Dan Ashworth to kind of navigate, because 50 million for one player is a lot of money, I think, at this current moment, because we need so many players across our whole squad that if we go and spend £50 million on Ugarte, we have to be sure that he's going to come in and massively change the team, you know? Like, he can't end up being a squad player. He has to be starting every week. He has to have a massive impact. And the question is, well, I mean, you never know in football, do you? He'll either come in and do really well, or he might come in and do terribly. And like, so it's difficult. It's a really, really hard situation. But you can let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. If you had to pick between Amrabat and a new left back or Manuel Ugarte, what would you do? I probably would go with Amrabat and a new left back, I think. Because I do think we need a new left back. I know Malacia has just started training again, but he's only just started running on the grass. He's not in first team training. He's not available for selection. So we probably won't see Amrabat, I don't think, until maybe mid-August, end of August, early September at the best. And that's if he doesn't have any more setbacks. Whereas Luke Shaw, I think there's massive question marks over Luke Shaw. He's obviously a very good player on his day. But yeah, there is question marks. And I think a new left back, now that we're not getting Jared Branthwaite, who obviously could have covered at left back, I think we probably do need to start asking ourselves a hard question about what are we going to do in the left back position. You've got an ageing Luke Shaw who can barely stay fit. You've got Malacia, who, let's be honest, is a squad player at best and was injured for the whole of last season. That surely is an area of concern. I know Dalot can play at left back, to be fair, but if Dalot starts playing at left back, then you need a new right back, because then you'll only have Wan-Bissaka. Like, it's a really, really difficult one. But I'll obviously keep you updated on Manuel Ugarte as and when more news comes out. But at this point, he wants to come to United. There's a genuine interest. It's just whether Man United can agree a fee that works for them. Somebody in the chat says, what about Zubimendi? I have heard a little bit about Zubimendi, but I don't know. I don't think the interest is as high as, you know, some people are making out. There is always going to be interest in players. We know that. He has a release clause of 50 million. Yeah, we'll wait and see. I haven't heard much about Zubimendi to Manchester United. I've heard his name mentioned with Arsenal quite a lot. I think the attractive thing with him is he has this release clause. He's 25 years of age. He's got a £50 million release clause. So yeah, it's kind of an easy deal to do. But yeah, I don't know. I've only really heard about Ugarte and Amrabat at the moment. I've not heard anything about Zubimendi to Manchester United. I've heard about him being linked to Arsenal quite a lot. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And I think he got injured, didn't he, in the Euros? I might be mistaken there, but I'm pretty sure he got injured. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Ricky saying we should sign Danny Olmo. I mean, Olmo's a good player, but he's not a central defensive midfielder. CBK says Barcelona are in for Olmo. Yes, they are. Yeah. Keith says we should sell Casemiro, McTominay, Pellistri, Hannibal Mejbri, and Ericsson 120 million. 120 million for those players. I mean, Casemiro 40 million, probably. McTominay 30. Pellistri 10, that's 80. Hannibal probably 5 if you're lucky. That's 85. Ericsson probably 5. Yeah, I think you've maybe priced them a little bit high, but I get your point. I get your point. There are lots of players that need to leave the club this summer. Yeah, so we'll wait and see what happens to that one. We've got over 900 people watching the show live now. That's absolutely amazing. Big ups to every single one of you. I've set a likes target of 1,000 for today's video. So if everyone who's watching now likes the video, we will hit that target. And we are now 1 subscriber away from 29,600. So please go and subscribe if this is your first time watching. And let's now talk about De Ligt. So I know obviously there was a journalist, well, I say a journalist, an account on Twitter, I'm going to call them, who went out yesterday saying that De Ligt was a done deal. It's been confirmed, blah, blah, blah. I've already said my thoughts on this journalist. I've seen this account pop up over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I follow transfer news constantly. I follow all the accounts. I'm reading all of these stories constantly. And this guy's name just came out of nowhere, right? He effectively is just a rip-off of Fabrizio Romano, effectively. And he's got this like stupid little catchphrase. He's tried to copy Here We Go. It's locked and loaded. Okay, whatever that means. And I saw his account pop up yesterday before he posted this story. This exclusive, he says, that De Ligt to Manchester United is now confirmed. He had about 4,000 followers on Twitter. And it said in his bio that he was a transfer expert for Juventus and Manchester United. He goes out with this story saying that Matthijs de Ligt from Bayern Munich to Manchester United is a done deal, locked and loaded. Saying it's an exclusive that he's been given. And his account obviously then blew up. He went from like 4,000 followers to 20,000 in like an hour. And people, you know, obviously loads of people were reacting to it saying that it's a done deal, the deal's agreed, blah, blah, blah. This guy said it. Obviously nobody else has said it. Fabrizio hasn't said it, Ornstein, The Athletic, Sky Sports. Like nobody else of the kind of more reliable journalists have said that De Ligt has agreed a deal to Manchester United. It's just this one guy called Nick Semeraro. He's from Milan, he says, and he says he's a transfer expert, and he says locked and loaded. So obviously people have gone into a bit of a meltdown thinking that De Ligt has signed for Manchester United. But yeah, I just think it's complete rubbish, to be honest with you. I do. You can kind of just see from looking at his profile, and I think because I saw his profile like a week ago, and he literally had like a couple of thousand followers, and he said he was a transfer expert for Juventus, and then the bio changed to a transfer expert to Juventus and Man United, and now it says he's just a football transfer expert. It just keeps changing and changing and changing, and when you type in his name on Google, like nothing comes up in relation to him being a journalist. It's just an account on Twitter that's effectively copied the model of Fabrizio Romano. Italian guy with a catchphrase, you know, like Here We Go, locked and loaded, whatever. But this morning we've had what I'd call a tier 1 journalist come out this morning, and that's David Ornstein. I really respect David Ornstein. He doesn't ever put out stories that ever turn up being wrong. He's been ahead of Fabrizio Romano quite a lot this transfer window, and he is reporting this morning. Now this is actually quite mad, so brace yourselves for this. He is reporting that the current expectation is that Manchester United will only sign one of Lenny Yoro and Matthijs de Ligt, not both. This came out at 8:10 this morning. He says, given a deal for de Ligt looks relatively straightforward, if United choose to proceed at present, they seem to be prioritising Lenny Yoro and exploring whether they can convince the Frenchman to join them rather than hold out for Real Madrid. So the very, very reliable David Ornstein is effectively reporting that Manchester United will not sign de Ligt and Lenny Yoro. They'll get one or the other. And at the point of recording this video, their priority is Lenny Yoro, not de Ligt. So these stories coming out saying that de Ligt is a done deal, it's confirmed, blah, blah, blah. I think they're maybe a little bit getting ahead of themselves. That's what I can tell from this David Ornstein story anyway, because David Ornstein why would he put out that story? Like he just doesn't put out clickbait. He doesn't put out fake stories. He's a very reliable person. And we're going to ask you guys the question, actually, right? I'm going to ask you this. What would you prefer? Lenny Yoro or De Ligt? Let's do this. What would you prefer? De Ligt, Lenny Yoro. And I know there was some people saying that we were going to sign 3 centre-backs. There was some people saying, you know, we're going to get Branthwaite, we're going to get Lenny Yoro, we're going to get all of them. And I did keep asking myself, like, how are we going to afford 3 centre-backs? Like, how is that even possible? We don't have lots of money. We're not in the Champions League. We finished 8th last season. We don't have... And obviously with financial fair play and profit and sustainability, it makes buying and selling players a lot more complicated these days. Even if you have the money to spend, you can't spend it. But yeah, you can let me know in the poll or in the comment section. If you had to pick between Lenny Yoro or De Ligt, who would you go for? So now the latest... So yeah, just to be clear, I think the De Ligt being done thing, I think is maybe a little bit too soon. It seems like Manchester United, from what David Ornstein has said this morning, this isn't my words, this is David Ornstein's words. Manchester United are trying to get the Lenny Yoro deal over the line. And if they sign Lenny Yoro, they won't then sign De Ligt. That's what effectively he's saying. De Ligt is the backup option. He wants to come to Manchester United. He's agreed personal terms. He's all the rest of it. But he's not the priority. Florian Plettenberg said the same last night, that De Ligt to Manchester United is not a done deal. And that reports that it is are effectively incorrect. That's what Florian Plettenberg, who is the Sky Sports Germany journalist, said. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting story, and it's one that is obviously taking like a lot of developments at the moment. But we'll wait and see what happens with that one. I think obviously we have to wait and see what happens with Maguire and Lindelof. Because if Maguire and Lindelof leave, then we might obviously sign more than one centre-back. But as it stands at the moment, I can't see Maguire going anywhere. You know? Like, Maguire's going to stamp his feet in the ground and say, I'm staying, I'm on 200 grand a week, I play for Manchester United, blah, blah, blah. Like, Maguire's happy, he's chilling. He's not going to get a better offer anywhere else, is he? If Maguire was to leave, it's going to be to like a West Ham or to an Everton or to someone towards the bottom of the table. You're not going to get like a Barcelona coming out for Maguire, are you? Or like a Real Madrid. So I think getting rid of Maguire is going to be difficult. Whereas Victor Lindelof, I think he does have a little bit more of an appeal. We know that Fenerbahce are apparently interested in him. Obviously, Jose Mourinho is the new Fenerbahce manager. There are talks going on between Manchester United and Fenerbahce over a deal for Victor Lindelof. So that's one that definitely we could keep an eye on. But yeah, it kind of caught me by surprise a little bit, because I know yesterday people were like, De Ligt is done 100%. And I still was kind of sat there thinking, let's wait for David Ornstein. Let's wait for Fabrizio. Someone's going to come out probably with a story that contradicts the story that this journalist, I keep saying journalist like that because I honestly just think that this account, right, on Twitter, this is the last I'll mention it. I think it's just somebody who's proving how easy it is to build up a following on Twitter by pretending to be a sports journalist. Because he literally was on like 2,000 followers yesterday, and he put out the story that he's got the exclusive, that De Ligt is done, and he's now on 20,000 followers. I actually messaged him on Instagram saying, I run this channel, it'd be great to find out where, you've got this story from, blah, blah, blah. But obviously he didn't reply. So, yeah, I'll obviously keep you updated on that one. I think we need to find out what's going on with Lenny Yoro like now, though. There is a bit of an update on Lenny Yoro this morning. So this is coming out from a very reliable French journalist who reports for L'Equipe. He is reporting that Lenny Yoro is now worried that Real Madrid have not increased their offer for him, and having told Lille that he does not intend to stay, he wants his future transfer to be settled sooner rather than later. Okay, that's good. And then the same journalist also says this, and I think this is going to upset some of you. He says, Lenny Yoro is not very motivated to join Manchester United at the moment. It says his agent, Jorge Mendes, is pushing for him to join Real Madrid. And then it also says that Lenny Yoro doesn't know for sure whether he wants to join Manchester United or Real Madrid. So it's just the same news being recycled over and over again. Lenny Yoro wants Real Madrid, but Real Madrid aren't willing to pay Lille the money that they want to sell him. That's effectively the situation, right? So the only option that they have is to either wait and hope that Real Madrid increase their bid, or they say, okay, stay another year, maybe try and sign him down to a new contract with a release clause. Those are kind of the options now. But if I was Manchester United, I would be saying to Lenny Yoro, you've got until Friday. You know, if you want to join us, we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've got the biggest fan base in the world. We're going to pay you life-changing money. Apparently, they're going to make him a starting centre-back. If you want to be a part of this project, you have until Friday to give us your answer. If you don't, then we're going to go and get De Ligt. And I think that's probably what will happen, because they can't just sit on their hands all week and wait for him. And then even if you think about it from what David Ornstein said, right? Lenny Yoro, apparently the total package is 60 million euros. 42 million up front plus add-ons. Okay? And De Ligt, apparently Bayern are asking for 50 million euros. Do we really think we're going to spend 110 million euros on two centre-backs when we've signed one player so far for like 40 million euros? I just can't see it. That's the bit that's really kind of caught me by surprise here. I just can't see how we would do that. And also, unless we're going to change formation, which I know some people have mentioned that is a possibility, if you sign Lenny Yoro and De Ligt and you tell them they're both going to be starting, then what happens to Martinez? Is Martinez on the bench? There's lots of question marks with it. And I think now that David Ornstein has clarified that we are just looking for one or the other, I think it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. We've got over 1,000 people watching the video live now. Thank you very much for being part of the show this morning. Please, if you haven't already, smash a like. I've set a likes target of 1,000 for today's video. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe. We're on the road to 30k. We're getting very, very close. So yeah, please go and subscribe if you haven't already. Alex says, Kieran, did you watch the game yesterday? I think Sam Murray at left back played well, better than Amas. Yeah, I did. I did a watch along for the game yesterday. I'll be honest, I thought the game was pretty boring, but it was just a pre-season game. I thought Harry Amas was okay. I thought Toby Collier was okay. I don't think... the goalkeeper was really good, Vitek. But other than that, I think it was a pretty uninspiring game of football. Let's see what else. James says the fee hasn't been agreed with Bayern, so it's the same place in the race for both of them. Yeah, I think that's what I'm kind of talking about here. Because I know, obviously, as I said, there's this journalist who came out yesterday saying that the deal's been done. But then you've got David Ornstein this morning saying that Man United are prioritising Lenny Yoro and they're probably going to only get one or the other, you know? So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But yeah, obviously, let me know your thoughts on who you would prefer in the comment section and in the poll. If you had to pick between Lenny Yoro and De Ligt, who would you go for? Let me know your thoughts. Right, let's see what else we've got planned for the show this morning. So, yeah, we spoke about Lenny Yoro. We spoke about De Ligt. There's a bit of an update on Ivan Toney for you. Apparently, Manchester United are still keen on signing Ivan Toney, but are just concerned about how much money it's going to cost. I mean, surely we knew this like a week ago. Like, Toney's not going to be a cheap signing. It's going to be 40 to 60 million pounds, and we've just spent 36 million pounds on a striker already. So, yeah, I think the Ivan Toney one is more of a Manchester United want him, but probably can't get the money together to do it. A little bit of an update on Jonathan Tah as well. I did a video on this yesterday, but Sky Sports are reporting that apparently Manchester United have been in contact with Bayern Leverkusen about the prospect of hijacking Bayern Munich's deal for Jonathan Tah. 28 years of age, German international. I personally thought that this was just Man United trying to bring down the price of De Ligt, because for anybody who's unaware, Bayern Munich are literally on the brink of signing Jonathan Tah, right? The deal was effectively done, and now Manchester United have apparently tried to hijack the deal. I think this is just a sneaky or cheeky attempt from Manchester United to try and bring down the De Ligt price. But now that like this David Ornstein story's come out this morning, that apparently United want Lenny Yoro over De Ligt, it kind of does make sense, because imagine you're negotiating with Bayern Munich for De Ligt, and then Bayern Munich find out that you're trying to sign Jonathan Tah, who they're trying to sign. Surely that's going to annoy them. But I guess it is just a game of cat and mouse, isn't it, in the transfer window? It's a game of, who blinks first. And Manchester United have made a very risky play by supposedly trying to hijack Bayern Munich's player that they're trying to sign. And all we can assume is that it's an attempt to bring down the De Ligt deal. Maybe they do want Jonathan Tah. Maybe they prefer him to De Ligt. Maybe they think De Ligt's too expensive and they think Jonathan Tah's better for value for money. I don't know. I personally would prefer De Ligt over Jonathan Tah, but we'll wait and see what happens with that one. There's lots of crazy stuff going on at the moment. There's a bit of an update on Wan-Bissaka as well. Apparently West Ham have been in contact with Manchester United for a deal for Wan-Bissaka, and apparently Aaron Wan-Bissaka is keen on joining West Ham as he would like to go back to London. Obviously he grew up in London. He came through the Crystal Palace Youth Academy. I don't know how much Wan-Bissaka would be worth really in the current market. I know there was an offer from, I think it was Galatasaray earlier on in the window, and it was like 15 million euros, which I thought was laughable. For a Premier League club, I would probably be asking for 30 million for Wan-Bissaka, probably, with 1 year left of his contract. He's only 26. He's a very, very good defensive right back. Yes, he's not amazing going forward, but yeah. Someone says, who is the source for the Tah story? It's all over the internet. If you type in Jonathan Tah to Manchester United, it's on Sky Sports, it's on Manchester Evening News. It's widely reported that United have been in touch with Bayern Leverkusen for Jonathan Tah. Sylvester says, do you really think both De Ligt and Lenny Yoro can bench Martinez? That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. We're being told at the beginning of the window that we want 3 centre-backs, right? Well, who's going to play then? Why would De Ligt come to Manchester United to sit on the bench? Why would Lenny Yoro come to Manchester United to sit on the bench? Why would Branthwaite come to Manchester United to sit on the bench? They wouldn't, would they? And if you're playing 2 centre-backs and you've got 4 that all think they're going to start, do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, for Wan-Bissaka, I would say 30 million to West Ham. I think that's a very fair price. He's a good defensive right back. And I think at a team like West Ham, who obviously set up a little bit more defensively, I think Wan-Bissaka would be really, really good. So obviously I'll keep you updated and we'll see, we'll see how we get on with Wan-Bissaka. I think he is somebody who will leave the club this year because he only has a year left of his deal. Man United apparently haven't offered him a new contract. So it's the same as lots and lots of players at Manchester United. McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, all of these players have 1 year left of their deal. Eriksen, and none of them have been offered new contracts. So Manchester United either move them out this year and bring in some transfer fees, or in a year's time, they all leave for free. That's the reality. Let's have a quick look, actually, at the Manchester United players. I'm just going to have a look at the other players whose contracts are expiring, because there's quite a few in 2025 who are expiring. And I think that's why Dan Ashworth has a massive job on his hands this summer. I mean, there's literally loads. So these are all the players whose contracts expire next year. McTominay, Greenwood, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Diallo, Lindelof, Hannibal, Eriksen, Pellistri. 8 players. I mean, from that list, Pellistri, sell, Eriksen, sell, Hannibal, sell, Lindelof, sell, Ahmad, I'd give a new contract, Maguire, sell, Wan-Bissaka, sell, Greenwood, sell, Scott McTominay, sell. So from 8 players whose contracts expire next season, I think 7 of them should be sold, realistically. Let me know if you agree or disagree. So Dan Ashworth's got some serious work here to do, because losing people like Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Hannibal, Eriksen, Pellistri for free next season, that's not good business, is it? It really, really isn't. I mean, Eriksen, maybe he's 32. That's kind of fine. But Pellistri, Scott McTominay, Lindelof, all of these people have resale values. I don't really think Christian Eriksen has much of a resale value, to be fair. But yeah, there's a lot of business that needs to be done this window, and I think we have to kind of wait and see effectively what Dan Ashworth can do in relation to outgoings before we can know for 100% who they're going to sign and stuff. Royden says we're going for 3 centre-backs. I assume you've just joined late, mate, but David Ornstein, who's probably the most reliable journalist in the world at the moment, is saying that Man United will either sign Lenny Yoro or De Ligt, not both. So I know there's been a narrative that we're going to sign 3 centre-backs, but I don't know where that story really even came from. None of the big journalists were reporting we're going to sign 3 centre-backs. It's just been kind of smaller Twitter journalists, I think. Because, at the moment, obviously we've got Maguire, Lindelof, Evans, Martinez. We've already got 4 centre-backs. So unless Maguire and Lindelof leave, then we don't need 3 centre-backs. And I've said this many, many times before. I know people are absolutely obsessed about when are we going to sign someone? Why is it taking so long? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I get it. But for me, the most important thing is getting rid of these players, right? McTominay, 1 year left of his contract. Sell him. Get rid of him. Are you really going to give McTominay a new contract at the age of 28 for 4 years? Do we really want McTominay here, 31, 32 years of age, playing for Man United? No. Mason Greenwood, he's going. Wan-Bissaka, the same. Like, we need to sell these people. And I'm actually judging this transfer window more on who they can get rid of. Imagine if imagine the day of the window closing comes, right? And we're sat here saying, Lindelof's gone, Maguire's gone, McTominay's gone, Wan-Bissaka's gone, like Pelistri's gone, etc., etc. Like, that would be amazing. And off the back of that, the domino effect will be that we'll then go and sign more players. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest task for Dan Ashworth and Ineos this summer is to bring down the overinflated squad on massive wages. Maguire's on 200k a week. That's mental, absolutely mental. I think Lindelof's on over 100k a week. So that's the biggest task for Dan Ashworth and Ineos this summer is to get rid of the players. And then as a result of that, we can then bring in more players. I mean, it seems obvious, but that's what they've got to do. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat today. Brandon Williams is gone. Someone's saying, what about Brandon Williams? He's gone, mate. His contract expired this year. He's no longer a Manchester United player. Lyle says, I've just checked Ornstein's Twitter. I don't see any update on there. Where is it? It's on if you go on the Athletic website, mate, it's literally been posted this morning. Go on the Athletic website and David Ornstein's posted there's a picture of that Anake Williams on there. What else have we got in the chat today? Jude says, what do you think of a 4-4-2 formation? I don't think we'll play 4-4-2 to be honest, but maybe in certain games where we need to, when we need a goal, I could see a 4-4-2 being implemented, but I don't think we'll, change to a 4-4-2 permanently. Romano says, if we're not getting 2 centre-backs, do you think that means we'll stick with our old formation? I think what David Ornstein is saying, right, is that at the moment, Man United are going to sign Lenny Yoro or De Ligt. They're not going to sign both because they don't need both. If Maguire and Lindelof go, then they'll need another centre-back. But what a team can't do is this, right? If we go and sign De Ligt, Lenny Yoro and Branthwaite, and then we can't get rid of Maguire and Lindelof, what happens then? You've probably got 7 or 8 centre-backs, and they're all on big wages. Some of them are unhappy. It will be like Chelsea last season, where there wasn't even enough space in the dressing room for the players to sit. So they have to do this in the correct way. We need 1 centre-back at the moment. Realistically, we do. We need 1 centre-back to replace Varane. Because that's the only thing that's changed at the moment. Willy Campoala was a youth player. I don't think he should really be included. Like, if all of the players had stayed fit last season, Willy Campoala wouldn't have played a minute. He only played because of an injury crisis. So you can't really include him. I think you could easily promote another player from the youth to just sit on the bench, because that's what Willy Campoala was meant to do last season. I'm not slagging him off. It's just the reality. So as it stands at the moment, we only need 1 centre-back, really, because Varane's gone and we need to replace him. But obviously, if Maguire and Lindelof go, then we'll need another one. But if we go and sign all of our players and then just hope and pray that Maguire leaves, what if he doesn't leave? What if Lindelof doesn't leave? And we can't just terminate their contracts. So I think that's really where we are at the moment. They need to get players out of the club, but at the moment they're probably struggling to do that because these players are on big wages. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with all of that. But I am going to wrap the video up here. I'll be back at 1:30 for your lunchtime roundup. If you have enjoyed today's video, your way of saying thank you could be to like it on the way out. And please make sure you subscribe as well. We're still 1 subscriber away from 29,600. So somebody please subscribe if you have enjoyed today's video before you go. I will be back at 1:30. I hope everyone has a great day. Get in the comment section as well when the video goes live and let me know about whether you want Lenny Yoro or De Ligt. You can't have both. And also let me know if you're happy with the Mason Greenwood price. Thank you very much for joining me. I will speak to you all at 1:30. Bye for now.